The death of retired Pope Benedict coming just days after Pope Francis said his predecessor was very sick. This morning, we are learning more about the final arrangements for him. So let's go to Ines de La Cuetara in Vatican City with the latest. Ines, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. And we are now learning more about funeral plans for the former Pope. The Vatican saying he passed this morning here on Vatican grounds. He was 95 years old. But this is really uncharted territory. We know what happens when a reigning Pope dies, but not when a former Pope passes. The Vatican saying his funeral will be held on Thursday here in St. Peter's Square, and it will be presided by Pope Francis. A spokesman for the Vatican saying the funeral will be held in simplicity, that is what Benedict wanted. So it seems Benedict may have left some instructions there. We also know Benedict's body will lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica starting on Monday for the faithful to pay their respects. Meanwhile, tributes are starting to pour in from around the world. The Archbishop of Chicago saying he showed Catholics what it means to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the head of Russia's Orthodox Church praising him for defending traditional values. And all eyes also on Pope Francis to see what he has to say. We know the two men had a special relationship and that Francis would often go to Benedict for advice.
They sure did. Inez, thank you. Let's bring back ABC's senior national correspondent Terry Moran, who's been on the papal plane with Pope Francis and has also reported on Benedict's departure as Pope nearly 10 years ago. Terry, good morning to you. So let's start with just how towering of a figure was Benedict in the life of the Catholic Church?
He was a towering figure in a different way, intellectually. A cardinal in Rome once said to me that John Paul II, Benedict's predecessor, he was the Pope of the soul, the cardinal said, this enormous, mystical, spiritual force in the world. Pope Francis, he's the Pope of the heart. He leads with his heart and his emotions. He said Pope Benedict was the Pope of the mind, a profound thinker, a very good writer, a great writer, and that legacy will last. His attempt to shore up the traditional doctrines of the church, that's all in writing, and that lasts.
And Terry, we talked about the history he made, that Benedict XVI was the first pope who stepped down in nearly 600 years. What did his resignation introduce to the modern papacy?
Oh, it changed it. No question about it, Whit. You know, Pope Francis has called Benedict's decision to resign from the papacy a gift to the church. And he said popes resigning should be something normal now. It changes the nature of the transition. It really makes it a more modern institution, gives the Vatican, gives the people of the church time to prepare and a more normal transition. Pope Francis himself has said, when asked if he will resign, he says, Benedict has opened the door.
And Terry, one thing that Inez noted, too, is this unique moment in history where for the first time we saw two living popes interact with each other. How did they get along, and what was that relationship like?
They got along great, actually. You know, Pope Francis has said that having Pope Benedict in the Vatican was like having a wise old grandfather in your house to whom you could turn for advice. And Benedict has said he really appreciated the emotional warmth that Francis brings to everything. You know, there's an old saying in the church that every new pope corrects the mistakes of the last one. And Benedict said maybe he was a little bit distant and he appreciated Francis's warmth. And it didn't have to go that way. There have been times in the long history of the Catholic Church where there have been two popes and they were rivals. Benedict made sure scrupulously that he would not be used by the church's conservatives to go after Pope Francis, and setting that precedent, too, is a gift to the church.
Well, Terry, we know you've covered the papacy for many years. We appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.